It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out my channel, and today I will be reviewing Cobra, starring the great Sly Stallone. Now, I have never seen this movie up until a couple hours ago, and you know, one thing I'm familiar with about it is the cover. I can remember seeing this cover a lot at the video rental stores, but always just kind of overlooking it and thinking it was some kind of Mad Max ripoff or sequel, perhaps. I don't even think I knew Stallone was in it. But recently I've been seeing this picture on the internet a lot and wondering about it, so I went and watched the trailer and went, that looks like a solid action movie from the 80s. And that it was. I enjoyed this movie a lot, I'll say that. It did not disappoint. It is like something where, you know, there's a lot of the like typical cliches and stereotypes from you know, 80s action movies and in just 80s movies in general. Like there's this, you know, there's a lot of like montages in it and stuff. So if you're kind of someone who can't get over that or feel that, you know, you have to kind of see something that isn't, you know, so dated in that way, then maybe you don't want to watch it, or maybe you'll just laugh your ass off at that. I don't know. I personally enjoy it. But getting into it, this film is about Marion Cobretti, is Sylvester Stallone's character's name in this, and he is a special force lieutenant, part of this group called, I think, the Zombie Squad or Zombie Elite. I can't quite remember, but they handle a lot of these kind of bizarre, I guess, murder cases and things that normal police can't do. They don't really explain exactly. I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know, isn't that what like FBI is or something? But yeah, that's sort of, it's just this title to be like, these guys handle the crazy shit. Either way, you know, so it starts out in this like supermarket where basically this shootout happens and they have to call Cobretti, aka Cobra, to come in, and he, you know, he takes care of business basically by, you know, shooting the place up and killing the guy and saving you know, the people in the store that he was gonna like kill, and he wanted to get on TV. And they found out that he was part of this whole thing called the New World, which is like a cult of like social Darwinism that want to, like, I guess, rid the world of weakness and only the strong will survive. And they kind of don't really get into that. That's something this movie does, is they just kind of vaguely go, oh, that's that, and you know, so they don't get into the philosophy of this crazy cult, just other than kill the weak, which is just like, all right, you know, doesn't really matter, you know, fuck them. But yeah, you know, it's pretty interesting, and you know, the story, it's like, you know, it's about this cult that goes around and starts like doing different types of murders and slashing, you know, different girls, it seems, and, you know, stabbing them in certain areas or cutting them and mutilating them and cutting their heads off with axes and these different kinds of things. And the police are just confused by it, you know, and they believe it's a lone killer. And that isn't the case, such as Mr. Cobra figures out just instinctively, understanding that this is not one killer. I mean, it only makes sense, I guess. Police, and he has a lot of problems with the police. I mean, he's that guy. he is what he looks like in this. You know, he don't give a damn. He's you know, fuck the rules and everything. You know, he doesn't want to follow the police methods like normal. He'll put the law in his own hands, kind of thing. So there's a lot of that in it. Brigitte Nielsen is basically this female in it that ends up seeing the cult. Pretty much like she makes eye contact with like the main killer, and you know, it kind of freaks her out, and he's like worried, and they're loading like a corpse into their van or something, and she ends up seeing it, and after that she's being followed by them. They try killing her, and then, you know, she ends up going and you know, basically the guy's investigating it, which is Stallone and his partner, the sergeant, who I do not know his name right now, is sort of like his partner in this, and they go and you know, find her, and she gets a sketch drawn of this guy that made eye contact with her, and you know, he ends up basically like, I have to kill her, you know, and he ends up sneaking in the hospital that she's at, killing like a nurse, and then killing a janitor and stealing the uniform of the janitor and sneaking into her like hospital unit and trying to kill her. And then in that part of the movie, it's a total like rip-off or homage, if you will, of The Shining. I mean, he's got this really like custom-made knife with this handle with like, it's like brass knucks, but it's got spikes on it and stuff, and he's stabbing through the door a lot like, here I have a shirt of The Shining on. I don't know if you can read it, but you know, there's the twins right there, Danny with his hands up. Anyway, huge Shining fan. But yeah, it's like he's stabbing through the door like Jack Nicholson is in The Shining, and I'm literally waiting for, here's Johnny, but you know, they didn't go that far with it. But yeah, you know, it was like a total rip-off of The Shining. You know, so you know, it ends up with a lot of, you know, shootouts in different places. They go to the rural kind of countryside to get her out of LA. But they end up following her, and because there's a rat in the police force, this female police officer that's like with them helping, I guess, protect her, but she's on the phone with all the other cult people saying, you know, where her coordinates are, and you know, all of that. So yeah, you know, it just great stuff in this. I mean, action that is just all done in real stunt work, and a really awesome car chase scene, explosions that are fun to watch. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just your typical 80s action movie, but it is just worth it, and it doesn't disappoint, other than lacking a lot of plot points. I think they really didn't explain a lot of this cult. It was just, they're bad guys. They want to rid the world of weak people for whatever reason, just because they're bad people, you know. Another thing about this film too is that it has a lot of product placement in it. I wish I was getting paid. With things like Tango and Cash and Demolition Man, you know, it seemed like Stallone was really starting to kind of have a sense of humor about the kind of action heroes that he always is sort of playing. But in the early Rambo film, you really buy it. The original First Blood, you know, he plays that so well and so endearing. And in this, he plays it endearing too, but you know he's just waiting to make these little one-liners the whole time while just beating the hell out of all the bad guys. And he never gets a single scratch or, you know, a bullet, you know, or anything. But man, he can just sit there and take them out, which is very Rambo-esque. This film was directed by George P. Cosmatos, but it was written actually by Stallone, who I guess was rewriting some pre-production stuff when he was going to be doing Beverly Hills Cop, and put a lot of that into this. I guess the film's a lot more violent before it was obviously, you know, chopped up by the MPAA when this film was released. And there's never been a unrated version of the film like out to, you know, view. So I guess a lot had been cut out. I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers here, but you know, it's a good like 20 minutes that were cut out with all the violence. And the film, you know, it has a lot of like great action scenes in it, but it's not like gratuitous really in any way. The stuff I'm describing, if you haven't seen it, you might think it's this really bloody, huge, gory, violent film, but you see a little bit of blood here and there. I mean, nothing nowadays that wouldn't be considered PG-13, except maybe a couple like gunshot wounds that seem a little bit more of that classic 80s squib explosion that they don't really do anymore. And if they do, that's just usually something like CGI'd, I guess. But it's very light on the blood. So you can kind of see that there was this idea that it had to be cut up. This film, you know, it has, I think, a lot of Taxi Driver in it. It just kind of has that vibe about it. It's also very warm at times when they get out of the city, you know, and it kind of lightens up a little bit. I enjoyed the music and the cinematography a lot in this movie. So, you know, it's worth a watch. It's not First Blood. I personally think it might be better than the sequels. Maybe. I'm not sure. But I highly recommend watching this if you want to see a good action flick with Sylvester Stallone in it. It's not a very brainy movie. The dialogue's kind of funny. It's kind of, you know, comical and cheesy, but it isn't the worst film in the world, and it's not the best film in the world. So either way, I think it's a must-see if you're into Stallone, hands down. Anyway, guys, if you would check out CucamongaPeakProductions.com for the latest updates on film projects by Cucamonga Peak Productions, and maybe things I'll be doing in the future, and also links to other video reviews and anything Cucamonga Peak Productions related. Check it out. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.